You don't need motivation. You need an internal enemy. And Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Most people fail at discipline because they want to be kind to themselves. But Machiavelli would warn us, he who wishes to maintain control must first learn to govern his own chaos. The truth is simple. Self-discipline is not about habits, schedules, or willpower. It's about understanding the civil war happening inside you. You want to wake up early, but there's a part of you that wants to stay comfortable. You want to create something great, but there's a part that fears being seen. You want to say no to addiction, but another part secretly feeds on it. Self-discipline begins the moment you admit that you are not one. You are a crowd, and if you are weak in commanding that crowd, you will be commanded by it. Discipline is internal governance, and every government begins by establishing authority. Machiavelli would write, "The first rule of power is to impose order upon your own territory. Your territory is your mind, your body, your time. You can be the prince of your own consciousness, or the subject of your impulse. Choose." Before anything else, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you absorb this until the end, you will never see discipline the same way again. Those who cannot master themselves live under the yoke of invisible forces, unexamined desires, ungoverned impulses, unchallenged fears. Machiavelli would call this structural weakness, when the ruler does not realize he is surrounded by traitors. In your case, the traitors are not outside. They whisper within you. You don't fail from lack of strength, but from excess of internal permissiveness. You tolerate your own sabotage too much. You wait for the right moment, the right mood, the right environment. But Machiavelli would say, the true strategist acts. Even in hostile territory, he creates order amidst chaos, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Discipline is not built on self-help quotes, but on internal laws. Clear rules, non-negotiable boundaries, punishment for deviation. It's not romanticism, it's survival. You are surrounded by stimuli that want to hijack your attention, your time, your life. If you don't create a personal code, you will be ruled by algorithms, by other people's desires, by your most disguised addictions. Most people want freedom, but freedom without discipline is disguised slavery. It is chaos wearing makeup. You want to be free? Then learn to be your own sovereign. What Machiavelli teaches us is brutally honest. Those who wish to govern must first understand human nature, and that includes their own. You are not stable. You are a field of conflicting forces, contradictory desires, primitive instincts dressed as rationality. Self-discipline does not come from ignoring this, but from deeply knowing it. Do you want to defeat procrastination? Stop waiting for motivation. It is volatile, weak, a disloyal lover. Instead, use your own psychic structure as a strategic tool. Recognize your vulnerable points like a prince analyzing the weaknesses of his territory. Where do you usually fail? When do you give in? What brings you down? This is your internal map. Without it, you walk blind. Machiavelli didn't believe in naive virtue. He believed in functional virtue, the kind that knows when to act with firmness, when to be cruel, when to be cold. This applies inside you as well. There will be times when you must impose yourself with severity, not because you hate yourself, but because you know that parts of you sabotage the whole. That's what self-discipline is, the art of maintaining the government of your psyche. It's making it clear to yourself that certain orders are not up for debate. You act because you decided to, because you are committed to an ideal greater than your momentary comfort. This is where true power is born, when you stop negotiating with excuses. To discipline yourself is not just to say no to pleasure. It is to know when to strategically yield and when to resist like stone. Machiavelli saw power as something that requires a double game. You need to know the appearance of virtue, but have the courage to act ruthlessly when necessary. The same applies to your mind. You need to understand that your resistance to effort is natural, but not insurmountable. What separates those who command from those who crawl through life is not talent, but internal command. It is knowing how to rise even without will, move even with fear, keep focus even when surrounded by distractions. This is not romanticism, it is strategy. When you observe your emotions like a strategist watches the weather before a battle, you learn to anticipate traps. You will realize that lack of time is actually fear of facing your own mediocrity. That mental fatigue is sometimes your mind creating escape to avoid evolving. This is not judgment, it is clarity, and clarity generates strength. You stop identifying with every fleeting emotion. You see with brutal lucidity that there are two selves within you, the one who wants to grow and the one who wants comfort. Machiavelli would say that if you want to govern this conflict, you must be more feared by yourself than your excuses are seductive. True discipline begins the exact moment you realize you are not in control. It sounds contradictory, but it's revealing. Most of your decisions are automatic responses to invisible stimuli: anxiety, comparison, laziness, fear of failure. You think you chose to procrastinate, but the choice was already made before consciousness arrived. Machiavelli taught that to dominate others, you must first decipher the forces that govern them. Apply this to yourself. Discipline is not infinite willpower. It's vigilance over your own impulses. It's not trying to beat fatigue every day, but designing a life where fatigue doesn't make decisions for you. This type of self-knowledge is brutal, because you will realize you're attached to habits that numb you. You'll see that certain friendships, routines, or content you consume are not neutral. They are disguised saboteurs. And you'll understand that keeping these things around is, in practice, choosing not to evolve. Discipline, then, ceases to be a technique and becomes an identity. You don't wake up and try to be disciplined. You decide you no longer accept living fragmented, that your time is too sacred to be wasted on inherited patterns. And when that decision is real, it begins to command all your actions. If discipline is the invisible fortress that protects your purpose, honor is the external consequence of that fortress. And here is a brutal truth. No one respects someone who does not govern themselves. You can be charismatic, intelligent, even talented. But if you live hostage to your impulses, you will always be perceived as unstable. Machiavelli didn't, say the prince should be loved. He said he should be feared and respected. And respect doesn't come from speech. It comes from coherence. It is impossible to maintain the admiration of others when you keep betraying yourself. Every time you promise something and don't fulfill it, you teach others and yourself that your word has no value, and that spreads like poison. It starts in small delays, empty promises, silent concessions you make thinking no one is watching. But the truth? You are watching, and that's enough to destroy your internal authority. Discipline creates a kind of aura. People feel it when you command yourself. They react differently. You don't need to impose boundaries. Your presence already establishes them, not through intimidation, but because there's something in you that does not bend. And it shows in your tone of voice, your gaze, the pace you walk. It's subtle, but it's real. And maybe you think this doesn't matter, that living in peace with yourself is enough. But here's the point. No one truly grows alone. Influence, partnership, leadership, opportunities, all of it depends on how the world perceives you, and the world smells weakness. When you govern yourself, others listen to you with more attention, follow you with more trust, and offer you what they would never give to someone unstable. So the question is not just, are you disciplined? The question is, are you worthy of being followed? If the answer is not yet, start with small acts of self-mastery today, and reputation will follow as a reflection. If you still think indiscipline only steals your time or productivity, you're mistaken. The real cost is silent and devastating. Every time you choose immediate pleasure over purpose, you don't just delay a result, you weaken your character. And character is not a philosophy, and it is a force. It's what remains when everything fails. Many believe being undisciplined is just being human, as if it's natural to surrender to impulsiveness. But Machiavelli would warn, what is natural is not necessarily virtuous. Nature is chaotic. The civilized human is one who builds themselves against chaos. Discipline is the instrument of that construction. Without it, you're not living, you're being lived. By habits, by addictions, by distractions disguised as freedom. And the most dangerous part? The consequence doesn't arrive dramatically. It seeps into your life. It shows up in the discouragement you feel without knowing why. In the lack of clarity. In the loss of self-respect. In the decisions you keep postponing that, deep down, paralyze you inside. You don't realize you're sinking because it's happening slowly, but it is. And when you do realize, it won't be because something collapsed. It will be because you no longer recognize yourself. The good news? You can reverse it, now, with one act, one cut, one radical decision that declares, from today on, I will not abandon myself anymore. And that doesn't mean becoming a productivity robot. It means reclaiming your own internal authority, taking command of what only you can control, yourself. If you want clarity, energy, and respect, inside and out, start killing the chaos. With small daily victories, a workout done when you didn't want to, a firm no to what always pulls you off track, a yes to the pain that frees you. That is discipline, and that is power. If you still rely on willpower to do what needs to be done, you're building discipline on quicksand. Willpower fluctuates, motivation evaporates, and your emotions, if they are your main engine, will always throw you into the cycle of doubt, delay, and regret. Machiavelli would see this as strategic weakness, basing serious decisions on momentary sensations. You need a system, a ritual, a set of actions defined in advance, not dictated by your mood of the day. Because when the moment comes, and it will, fatigue, doubt, or anxiety will try to dominate you. If you don't have something stronger than that, you will give in. You will fail. You will repeat the cycle. True discipline starts before the temptation. It's pre-planned. It's not about reacting well. It's about avoiding the need to react. Practical example? If you want to wake up early, you can't rely on your 6 a.m. self. He will negotiate, he will argue, but if the alarm is far from the bed, if your clothes are set out, if you have a visual plan ready, you won't think. You'll act. Because the system is working for you. Another example, you want to create every day. But if each day you decide what to do, you waste time and energy in that decision. Smart discipline eliminates doubt. Monday is writing, Tuesday is reading, Wednesday is planning. That doesn't trap you. It frees you. Because you don't waste energy deciding. You use that energy executing. Machiavelli would say a prudent prince prepares the fortress before the siege. Your system is that fortress, and it must be simple, functional, and ruthless. That doesn't eliminate your humanity. It channels your strength. You are not what you feel. You are what you build, despite what you feel. Have you ever calculated the cost of being undisciplined? Not just what you fail to do, but what you fail to become. Every time you postpone something important, you reinforce an invisible identity, that of someone who doesn't follow through. This isn't just about unfinished tasks, it's about the slow erosion of your own self-trust. When you say, "I'll do it later," and don't, you're teaching your brain that your word carries no weight, that you aren't even trustworthy to yourself. And what would Machiavelli say about that? That a ruler without his word even just with himself, is a weak ruler, vulnerable, manipulable. A man who doesn't honor his internal command is a slave to his impulses. Now think practically. You skip a workout. It's not just your body that weakens, it's your self-image. You avoid a difficult conversation. It's not just the problem that grows, it's your courage that shrinks. Every not done doesn't just waste time. It distances you from your potential. And worse, indiscipline creates an invisible debt, a constant anxiety, a mental noise that follows you even during leisure. Because deep down you know something important is being ignored, and that consumes you. But there is a way out, a break. It begins when you stop asking how to feel motivated and start asking, how do I become someone who acts even without motivation? The answer? Internal commitment, brutal clarity, and small but daily action. If you start keeping your promises to yourself, even in small doses, something shifts. You start to respect yourself. You start to believe in yourself. And that respect is fuel, not emotional, existential. Machiavelli believed that true power is not in appearance, but in the coherence of action. Want to become powerful? Start by honoring what you say to yourself, because he who masters himself doesn't need to master anyone else. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you no longer accepts being a hostage to your own weakness. And that already sets you apart from the majority. But there's one last turning point. And it's not about productivity. It's about identity. About realizing that true discipline is not punishment, nor rigidity. It's a spiritual act. It's the highest form of respect you can offer your own existence. Discipline is when you decide that your soul will command your flesh. That desire will no longer be the emperor of your life. That you will no longer live according to the emotional climate of the day, but according to the silent order of one who knows why they came here. Machiavelli knew the man who governs himself can govern any situation. Because the external world is just an arena. The true battle happens within. You don't need to fight chaos. You need to become the one who doesn't bow to chaos. And that strength is born from small, non-negotiable rituals. Sleeping on time. Eating with awareness, saying no without guilt, keeping your word without witnesses. This is not moralism, it's strategy. It's you choosing to live under a higher command. You are no longer a prisoner of circumstance. You are the architect of your own destiny. And when this becomes consistent, life responds, because reality respects those who take a firm stand. You begin to attract opportunities, not because the universe is conspiring, but because you've become someone who acts even when the world stands still. That is true discipline. It's not willpower. It's loyalty to what you know must be done. It's not about feeling good. It's about becoming someone who, even in silence, acts with greatness. So before you leave, if this message touched you in any way, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel. This isn't just support, it's a pact that you are ready to become who you were born to be. Discipline is not the hard path, it is the only path, and now you have the tools to walk it. Choose to act, choose to win. See you in the next deep dive.